Welcome to another FafNir guide. Today's guide is about Yubel. This deck is very easy, yet it's hard to achieve the win condition of this deck once your opponents figure out you are playing Yubel. Originally, this deck is really bad when going second, but with Super Polymer Unlimited in Master Duel, it gives this deck a chance to break a big board with it, and putting this deck in a Tier 2 deck within a week of being released in Master Duel. Before we jump to the combo section, you need to understand the mechanic Yubel has to offer, that I'm sure some of new player will be confused of how it works or even how to deal with it. So please smash the like and subscribe button and share it to your family and friends. Your support is very much appreciated. First things first, you need to understand what is the win condition of this deck and how to achieve it. If you are new to this deck, please do not skip this part, but if you already know how this deck works, you can skip to this timestamps. This deck win condition is similar to Makonko. If you're interested with Makonko, you can check my Makonko guide video, link at the top right there. As you can see, all of our boss monsters, and even combo starters monsters, are all 0 attack and 0 defense, similar to Makonko. With 0 defense means you have very low chance to survive while defending in battle phase, and 0 attack means you have no way to win even during your own battle phase.
What the hell? Then how do we win then?
Similar to Makonko, it reflects the battle damage you should have taken back to your opponents. But the thing is, originally, Yubel was not designed to do that. Yubel was originally designed to be a defensive control or floodgate deck just like Eldleech back in the day. That's why all of the Yubel variant have an effect that's stated, cannot be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage involving this card. So it was never stated that you can reflect the battle damage back to your opponents unlike Makonko. Instead, they are inflicting an effect damage whenever Yubel variant are being attacked. I repeat, effect damage, not battle damage, and only when being attacked. Because it's an effect damage, it requires an activation, means it can be negated. And because it only activated when being attacked, the deck was played really slow back then. The card that can make them works like Makonko now is this new continuous spell card, Nightmare Pain, so make sure to protect the spell cards at all cost if you want to win. Also, another effect you need to keep in mind. These two Yubel variants have a mandatory effect that only activated during your own end phase, which in my opinion, it's some kind of a sacrificial requirements to keep them on the field for the next turn. So I think it's not a very good idea to keep them on your field during your turn, and make sure to use them as a link material to link summon anything you need. Here are the newest support cards for Yubel. These new cards turn Yubel into a combo deck that can bridge into Unchained package for extra disruptions. I'm not going to talk much about them. It's better for you to see them in action, but one thing that you should realize, forget about this monster card. This, in my opinion, is the weirdest one among all of them. But one thing to emphasize in Yubel deck, that all of the main deck Yubel monsters, including the OG and the new Spirit of Yubel, when destroyed by other effects, it can special summon the next Yubel in order. So the order must be Spirit of Yubel, OG Yubel, and lastly OG Yubel Terror Incarnate. And don't forget that they are not once per turn, so you can redo it over and over again. Here are the deck list that I'm going to use for this guide. Slightly different from the one that I used in the previous Yubel video, this one is more consistent, yet it's more expensive. If you notice in here, we are not using Super Producer, Beatrice, or even Griffin. I find it better for Maxx format is to use Verte, Jaugen, and Albion package, because why not? But if you aim for the cheaper version, here it is. One thing that I noticed when playing this, that Almiraj is very needed in this deck, so please craft this card. Alright, let's jump right into the combo section. We're gonna start with the one-card combo Nightmare Throne. Phantom of Yubel is using a mechanic called pseudo-negate. If you don't familiar with this term, you can check this explanatory short video, link in description. Basically, it's not an actual negate, but instead it alters the activated effect to do something else. In this case, we destroy a Yubel from deck, hand or field. Actually, there's a slightly better end board if you are willing to waste a lot more resources. But in my opinion, this is the safest combo. I don't really like wasting so much resource, while this deck doesn't even have any spell trap negate in their arsenal. As you can see, we are playing Unchained Package. Make sure to get Rage and Escape on the field, and Yama in the graveyard. With just that package, we can have at least 4 different disruptions on top of Apollousa and Phantom Pseudo Negate. And here are the disruptions you can perform. In here, if any of your opponent's monsters are able to attack, they must attack Yubel once each, and it's a mandatory effect. This effect is from Nightmare Pain. You can't even ending your phase before you enter battle phase and attack Yubel once for each monster you had. Next is how to deal with Nibiru with just Nightmare Throne. In here, Yama is our 5th summon, and Nibiru is ready to drop anytime. But the thing is, if you saw our opponents has a response during this time, and they pass on it, the next thing you need to do is to summon Phantom of Yubel right away, and then we can pseudo-negate any monster hand trap our opponents had. Scenario 1. What if our opponents notice and Nibiru us right away? This is what you can do. It's just like nothing is happening. Scenario 2. Now, let's see if our opponents decide to Nibiru after we summon Phantom of Yubel. Sadly, we waste all of our Phantom of Yubel, but we still have Throne on the field, and we can recover our Phantom next turn. For Scenario 3, what if our opponents hold on to their Nibiru, means we need to keep Phantom of Yubel until we can summon a Palooza. And here is how. Next combo, Samsara one-card combo. In here, you can choose to summon Verte instead if you wanted the Floodgate and anti-evenly matched, but for the safest and cheaper combo, we gonna go for a Palooza. It's basically the same like one-card Throne, but with one less monsters, which means one less negate from a Palooza. Next is how to deal with Nibiru with one card Samsara. If our opponent didn't Nibiru here, we can just link them and make Phantom right away, which protect us from Nibiru. Next combo is a brick combo if you open with only either Spirit Gate or Dark Beckoning, while the rest are hand traps. Spirit Gate combo can be started with either Spirit Gate itself or Dark Beckoning, but if you start with Spirit Gate, you need to have Chaos Summoning in your deck for the combo to works. There's no Yubel in it, but at least it can give you 4 total of disruption on top of your hand traps. That's all for the 1-card combo. Next is 2 cards combo. Squirmer plus Spirit of Yubel. Next is Pain plus Spirit of Yubel. One cool things with these hand, that we can set Eternal Favorite that allows us to fusion summon during opponent's turn. Usually we gonna summon Yubel, the Loving Defender, using all of our opponent's monsters. Next is Spirit Gate Package 2 cards combo. Spirit Gate plus Pain plus 1 discard. With 1 more card to discard, these hand can let you search a super polymerization from deck. Remember, I only start with 3 cards from my hand, means you still have 2 more cards on your hand that you can use to discard with Super Poly. Next is Spirit Gate plus Spirit of Yubel. In the previous step, you can also go for Verte if you needed the Floodgate. Now, how to deal with Imperm with these hand. This is not gonna work if you start with Dark Beckoning, unless you already had Spirit Gate on your hand. Next is Spirit Gate plus Samsara. This is our 5th summon, and our opponent can drop the Nibiru here. So we going to summon Phantom right away. For this part, as I told you before, Yubel has their mandatory effect during your end phase. So make sure to toggle on and then enter the end phase. Activate Samsara effect first and special summon it, and then activate Yubel effects and press no. Now you have an extra monster pseudo negate with Samsara on the field. Now how to deal with Imperm with these hand. If our opponent decide to Imperm Samsara before we can activate its effect, you can link them first and special summon Samsara back to the field. And you will end up with the same end board. In second scenario, what if instead they Imperm your Dark Beckoning, so you won't be able to normal summon the Samsara? Next is Throne plus Samsara or Squirmer. Normally, it's similar to Samsara or Throne 1-card combo, but what if our opponents decide to Imperm Samsara when we normal summon it? This is what you gonna do. In here, we gonna add Mature Chronicle. Alright, next is Anti-Maxx combo. It's anti because you can actually negate Maxx, but only during your main phase. If you have any 0 stats fiend on your hand, plus any Yubel monster in your hand. Before you start your combo, you can summon Phantom of Yubel right away. With these, Phantom can pseudo-negate as early as possible any monster hand traps our opponent had, including Maxx, Ash Blossom, or even Nibiru. Since we have Throne, I would like to recover my Phantom back to extra deck, save more resources. The last thing is under Maxx combo, in case you have no way to deal with it. For the simple one, you can go for this route. Instead of taking Nightmare Pain, you set Eternal Favorite instead and directly summon Phantom. With these, you are giving 2 draws to your opponent and pass the turn. But if you think you are not sure and just want to go for the Floodgate, you can do this instead. And the summon of Phantom is our 5th summon, so you are safe from Nibiru. With these, you are giving more cards to your opponent, but at least you have a way to floodgate our opponent next turn, and also safe from evenly matched. Small tips when using Eternal Favorite. When you want to activate Eternal Favorite effect to do a fusion summon, make sure to activate the card early without activating the effects. And after that, you can activate the fusion effect. This means you can't activate the fusion effects when you chain activate Eternal Favorite card to something else. It must be in a face-up state before you can fusion with it. If you activate the effect as soon as you activate the card, you are only allowed to activate the first effect. If you ask why, it's because it's the rule of the Yu-Gi-Oh! The fusion effects requires you to send Eternal Favorite to graveyard, but by the time you activate the card is in a pre-exist state before you can even send it to grave as an existing card on the field. And also make sure you must have the original Yubel on the field to activate this card. That's all that I can provide about this deck. If you are asking about how to go second with this deck, your best choice is using hand traps and bring 3 Super Poly in your deck. Breaking board with this deck is kinda tedious and risky, so all I can say, you have to improvise. But I have 1 tips when using Super Poly. Whenever you manage to get any Yubel on your field and use Super Poly to summon Yubel Loving Defender, make sure to leave at least 1 monsters with roughly 2,500 damage that cannot negate an effect. So you can finish them at the same turn. If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it. I'll see you next time.